Welcome into a Tuesday mailbag edition of Locked On Brewers. We surprised you with Brent Suter yesterday. We're getting to your questions today. Don't go anywhere. This is Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, everybody. I'm Dominic Cotroneo, along with Vinny Rottino. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. I'm currently on location, Vinny. I am actually calling a game tonight, so I am really excited to be back on Pac-12 Network tonight. You are back in the freezing rain, I see, back in Milwaukee. It's a little warmer out here in Phoenix, to say the least.
You know, I'm really jealous of you right now because this is the best time of year to be out there, and I say that just because this is when spring training should be, and that's kind of where I've come to know and love Arizona is during this time of year, and it's like there's a dome over the entire valley, isn't there? Like there's not even an insect flying around.
It's crazy. It's a beautiful time to be here, but we got a lot to update. We've got CBA updates from yesterday, and of course we got a handful of questions from you guys that we, didn't get to yesterday because Brent Suter offered his time to us, and man, wasn't he a blast, man. I could talk to Brent Suter for hours and hours. He just comes off and truly is one of the most genuine dudes in that clubhouse.
He is, and my goodness, is he funny. The thing that's so remarkable, and if you haven't checked out that episode yet, please do, and then make sure you do yourself a favor and listen all the way to the end. He gives you guys where the origins of the Raptor come from, and then he also gives a couple of really funny impressions. What's remarkable to me is how quickly he can switch from Brent Suter to Jim Carrey. Like it is...
it's a click. Goodness. It's not. It's just like he blinks and boom, he's Jim Carrey.
It's so funny. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously a very smart baseball guy as well. So it's fun to talk baseball with him and kind of the state of the Brewers and his whole career and his whole path, which is quite remarkable. Dom, I don't think we mentioned it either on the show or on that interview. Is like the dude was a guy that would be shuffled up and down to different levels just to cover innings at one point in his minor league career, and now he's like a very vital part of the Milwaukee Brewers bullpen. So it is quite the story.
It's a heck of a story, and we thank him for his time because, as you could tell by yesterday's reporting, he had to hop on a plane and go help out with negotiations as the Brewers rep with Cba Negotiations happening in Jupiter, Florida right now. So let's jump into it here, Vinny. We got an update, and first and foremost, yesterday was a very long meeting. Now, it wasn't, all 5 hours weren't spent at the negotiating table. There was a little over an hour together. Then they broke off and had a break, did some caucuses together with their own parties, meaning, the owners got together and chatted things over, and the players got together and chatted things over. And then they went back to the bargaining table. So, look, we were never going to get a deal after yesterday, but the fact that we can not only see progress happening, and they've already agreed to meet today, Tuesday, again, this is crunch time. We are a week to the, imaginary deadline. This is really encouraging to see. What were your takeaways from the news that came out yesterday?
It's encouraging that they're meeting for so long, right? After hearing about meetings that lasted 6 minutes and then one that lasted 15 minutes, and all of a sudden they're lasting for an entire afternoon. It's very encouraging that they understand what's at stake here. They understand that crunch time is here. And so I got to imagine, to be a fly on the wall in that room, right? I mean, but I got to imagine they're going to figure something out. That's my takeaway from this.
The vibe is that they're going to meet every day this week as necessary. So as the owners have said, the players don't necessarily agree. The owners have said February 28th, a week from yesterday, is the deadline. But the players deep down know, hey, we can come to a deal on the 2nd or on the 3rd. If we got to push back a week of the regular season and still play 162 games, we will do that because they want to play 162 games and have as close of a semblance of a regular spring training. They're not going to try to jam it in and get to the original opening day. If they got to push it back a week, they will push it back a week in order to play 162, which I think is good news. We want them to play 162. They only remember when you don't play 162.
And as long as fans kind of understand, like, this isn't missing opening day, right? And I hope that if that is the case, if it does get pushed back a week and they're still going to play 162, I hope the sentiment amongst the fans, and I'm guessing the message and the marketing to the fans about this would be like, this is just a slight delay to opening day. We're not missing opening day, because that needs to be real clear to fans. I think they're not gonna really be favorable to the idea of missing opening day, but as long as it's messaged that it's a delay, I think they'll be fine.
I mean, shoot, you're gonna have the tailgate on Thursday night for single game tickets being available on Friday. So we got to have a season to be ready for the for these tailgates and for everything to come back. It's a cool tradition that I was indoctrinated to in the middle of the year, that I didn't realize that this was such a massive tradition in Milwaukee. What's it called again? For the overnight frozen for the tailgate.
I forget the name of it, the Arctic tailgate or something like that. When
I saw our friend Nicole was teasing it on Brewers social, the Arctic tailgate. You're right. So it's, I think that's amazing, because it's just a cool fan base thing, and I think if the owners just see that, and Mark Adonasio obviously knows, but it's just like, man, you've got fans camping out in single digit degrees in February. They are passionate about baseball. Brewers fans, we love you. We're trying to get baseball. I just hope they see that. We'll get into the nitty-gritty here of the actual offer that came out from yesterday's deal. First of all, the arbitration pool that we've talked about for a while. Players are currently sitting at $115 million. The owners had been at $15 million. Now the owners have moved up to $20 million. So not really a ton of progress there, but they've moved up. But the big difference, too, is who is getting that money. The players, they want the $115 million to be distributed more, to 150 players, whereas the owners, they want their $20 million only distributed to 30 players. And this is only to guys that are pre-arbitration eligible, so the guys that are not quite at 3 years of service time and are not a Super 2, like a Luis Urias case. Basically trying to get more money in the pockets of the players that haven't yet hit their payday without raising the league minimum. So that's the first order of business that they're trying to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, what's your take? I mean, I'd like to hear your take on it. You're a little bit more well-versed on some of these nuances of these rules that are going to be coming out. I think that would mean like the Chris Bryants of the world, right? And the Prince Fielders of the world. I remember he never signed a deal until he became a free agent, and I remember he was making league minimum and hitting 50 home runs a year. Those are the kinds of players that would be getting this bonus if it was just the 30 players, which, I don't know. I don't know if that's very valuable to a guy like Prince Fielder, who knows he's going to sign for $200 million, and a Chris Bryant sign for $100 million once he becomes a free agent. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's about the players' stance is the reason why there's such a big difference, not only in the amount of money, but the amount of players getting paid, is they want to raise the minimum salary, not only for this arbitration pool, but overall. That has not come up in yesterday's meeting. Players have insisted on a $775,000 minimum salary, which is almost a $100,000 raise from this past year. This past year was $590,000. So it'd be massive upgrade, to say the least. Right. Granted, the owners have already proposed over $650,000, but they have not come to agreement on that. That's why I'd say it's less than $100,000. But the point is, for the players, while they have seen the average salary fall, not only the average salary, but the median salary fall over the life of the last CBT, the revenues that have drawn in from baseball, the value of teams has gone up. So the players are asking, where is this money going? Why are you paying less but making more at the same time? So that's why they are trying to get every penny they can out of this pre-arbitration pool, which is good to see that they agree in practice, just not quite yet on the terms.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, again, you're optimistic and you're hopeful that they'll get it figured out, and something that is fair to both sides, which, again, we reiterate this point over and over, that is good for the game. So hopefully this will happen here in this next week.
So another thing that was agreed to, or at least the owners have put on the table, is they have increased the lottery pick from 3 to 4. The owner's proposal, they want the lottery to only go for 3 picks, whereas the players, they want the lottery to go for 8 picks. Now, that has not been agreed to, the number 4, but it's progress that the owners have stepped it up 1 to 4. The reason why the owners want it to be lower is because they want to make sure that the teams in last place have the best chance to get the first pick in the following draft, whereas the players fear that if you guarantee the 3 worst records to have a top 3 pick, that will not decentivize tanking, meaning when you have a real chance of 8, the chance that you could pick 8th, even if you have the worst record, that would make sure that teams aren't tanking as frequently. So that's one tiny, tiny step forward as far as the lottery goes.
And for fans to kind of understand why that's important and why it's important for the owners to get, those top 3 picks. If you go back into draft history, I want to say when I was scouting with the Rangers, I knew the number, but it's top 5 picks or top 6 or something like that. The amount of wins above replacement in draft history for those top 5 picks in the entire draft is huge, and then there is a huge drop off after that. So over the course of history, scouts have actually gotten these players right, from the fact that these are the best players picked in the first 5 picks. Again, I don't know if the number's 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever it is, but it is a huge discrepancy between that whatever that number is, and then after that's a huge drop off. So I can understand why the owners want the only the top 3 teams, or the worst 3 teams, to get a chance at that lottery, because it is very, very valuable to have one of those top 3 picks.
2 quick little notes to wrap up the CBA negotiations. Major League Baseball has taken the option off the table, and also the minor league roster size off the table. Remember, we had talked about that a few episodes ago, about they would control how many players can be in AAA. They would limit the number of options to 5. They have taken both of those off of the table for the sake of negotiations. And to reiterate, they did not negotiate anything about raising the minimum salary yesterday, nor did they negotiate anything about the competitive balance tax being reissued. So this was the first step climbing up this mountain of Mount Everest. So it's not all going to be done in one day. Oh, Rome wasn't built in a day. Every cliche you can think of. But overall, the reading of this is good news. Everyone is happy that, look, you've got a week left, imaginary week left. And this was arguably the most progressive and positive day that we've had so far.
I'm very hopeful. Yeah, I'm hopeful at this point, just for the fact that they're having a discussion this long, and the fact that they're going to continue to have these discussions all week, and hopefully until they get it figured out. So I'm hopeful.
Very hopeful. So let's get to these questions. Before we do, let's talk about Built Bar. Here we are in February, of course. Your New Year's resolution might be hanging on by a thread, but Built Bar can help you get back on track. You can try their awesome puffs as well. If you haven't had these, you're missing out. They are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy and taste and look like a marshmallow, but they're not just a marshmallow. They actually have protein in them, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Incredible flavors just for the puffs as well. Cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, and banana cream pie. These are going to be your new favorite. They are phenomenal. And of course, low calories and high protein. You can replace your candy bars with Built Bar. 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. And you can see their entire selection at Built.com, where they've got mint brownie bars, coconut almond. This month they've got white chocolate cookies and cream as well. Their entire lineup is at Built.com, BUILT.com. Use our promo code, LOCKED15, that's LOCKED15, to get 15% off your order at Built.com. This episode's also brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing number of makes and models, it's almost impossible for your local chain and auto parts stores to have all the parts your car is going to need. So why endure all the pointless and intimidating questioning you're going to get from the guy behind the counter? Well, they're just typing away on your computer. You can do that at home yourself. You can have access right there at rockauto.com. Save time and money when using the website. You can spend like 30, 50, even 100% more at the auto retail store, or you can go straight to Rock Auto, a family-owned business for over 20 years. You can explore their easy-to-use website, and you can even find solutions for all your part needs. They've got everything your car could ever need. So if you go to rockauto.com and you see all the parts available, and if you click on the "How did you hear about us?" click on Locked On to let them know that we sent you, Vinny and Dom. So amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. Okay, handful of questions that we didn't get to obviously yesterday because we had Brent Suter on the show. First and foremost, I thought we've talked about this a little bit with an all-star team. This was a themed off of the NBA All-Star game this past weekend. Did you watch Steph Curry going nuts, by the way, this past weekend at all, Vinny?
16 3-pointers. He's unbelievable.
Must be nice. He was insane. But the thought was, what's your Brewers All-Star team? And I would direct you to our episode, I want to say it was about a month ago now, of our building a Brewers roster with only $15, in which we had the exercise on our Twitter. That was a really fun episode where you have guys like Corbin Burns and Josh Hader are $5, but you can get a steal of Gorman Thomas for $2 and Willie Adames for $2. You had to make your own roster with $15. So I would encourage you listening to that episode to hear our thoughts on that. But as far as rosters go, we got a recommendation that some outlets are reporting that Kyle Schwarber is being linked to the Brewers. Now, we've talked about this. It feels like every other week now. Could Kyle Schwarber be a good fit with Milwaukee? Absolutely. Who would say no to having Kyle Schwarber, especially now with the designated hitter coming to the National League? Now, the terms, though, is where I hesitate. 4 years, $80 million. $20 million for essentially a full-time DH. That is a lot of coin for a guy that's coming off of a hurt hamstring as well. So, personally, I would love to see Kyle Schwarber in Milwaukee. I think it is a really good fit. But at that price, I see no chance.
It's a steep price. My goodness, I really like Kyle Schwarber. I played against him actually in 2015. I was playing in New Orleans. He was playing for the Iowa Cubs. My gosh, he could really hit, and he can still really hit. I thought he was a steal last year. When he signed for $10 million, 1 year, $10 million. And my goodness, he can hit. I really don't know what to say about this. It is a tough price tag. The price tag on all these DH, especially on him, Nelson Cruz, we talked about, it's going to go up, right? I mean, there's 15 new DHs or new teams that need a DH. It's gonna really depend on where the team thinks Keston Hiura is, right? Mm-hmm. And then also some of the other options out there. Do they go and try and sign Daniel Vogelbach back, right? Who knows? I mean, he's an on-base machine with regular at-bats. Who knows what he can do? And then maybe you can platoon him with Keston. So they're gonna figure something out. Probably a cheaper option is my guess, but I'm sure that they're in talks with everybody. You can't rule anybody out at this point for Stearns and company.
Yeah, I agree. I think Schwarber at that price is going to be too steep. Granted, he is coming off of a 30-homer year, and he missed some time with that hamstring injury, coming from Washington to Boston. Playoff experience, obviously. I mean, coming off the torn ACL in 2016, making it back to the Cubs. It's pretty crazy to think about what he's gone through. And he's only 29. He's still pretty young for a guy that feels like he's been in the league forever. The good old Hoosier from Indiana. So it's a great fit, obviously, on paper. But when it comes to the actual paper, as in paying the guy, it may not be a fit.
Yeah, it's just a matter of if Schwarber's going to be in their budget, right? Because I do think, I agree with you, it's a fit, and I think he's going to have some monster seasons here in these next 4 years because he's entering that age curve, part of the age curve where he is supposed to be at his peak, and I think he will be. And he takes care of his body. He's a competitor. I think he's going to have some monster years here. Again, it's just a matter of whether or not he's going to fit into the Brewers' budget.
Yeah, absolutely fair. I mean, I look at a guy, shoot, Justin Turner is getting paid $17 million a year to play third base for the Dodgers, and he's older, obviously. He's 37 years old. Now, the production-wise, Schwarber's got more pop, and at the end of the day, Turner had a kind of a down year by his standards this year, but he still hit 27 homers this year. Their profile is a lot more similar than you may think. Of course, Schwarber has more slug, but they both get on base at a very good rate. I look at $17 million a year is probably the minimum of what you're going to have to pay a guy like Kyle Schwarber. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say on this too is that Schwarber is a streaky hitter, right? I mean, he is pitchable. If you execute some, he can hit a fastball. He can hit anybody's fastball. It doesn't matter if it's a lefty or righty. So that is one thing that may give you some pause into giving him that kind of dollars, is that he can be streaky. I mean, I think he hit what did he hit in July last year? It
Oh
was
yeah,
some
he went
crazy
nuts
number of
right
homers.
before the trade deadline.
Yeah,
I'll pull that up for you.
Yeah, so I mean, he is a guy that is a little bit streaky, but obviously ride that hot streak, he can carry a team, and that's kind of what the Brewers do need. They were great. Their offense was great when they were kind of firing on all cylinders, and they had those baton passers, but they were missing that guy that could carry a lineup, themselves when they were hot for a week. So maybe Schwarber is that guy.
Well, it was June that he had the ridiculous month where he had 16 home runs in the month of June, and he didn't even get his first one in June until June 12th.
Wow.
So from June 12th to June 30th, in a span of 19 games, he hit 16 homers, had a 329 batting average, and a 1384 OPS, greatly fueled by a 986 slugging percentage during that time. 24 hits. His only extra base hits during this stretch were homers. 16 of 24 hits were homers. I mean, that is hot.
That's ridiculous.
That is the definition of hot. So he'd be fun to have. Next question. We got two more here. We're going to talk about briefly, we're going to have an episode coming up on the NL Central, a full preview, hopefully once we have a season in mind, once we have transactions happening. But we're going to have a full preview. We're just going to give a couple quick thoughts on the NL Central. And also, we got to talk about you with Blitzball, my friend. You made your debut on our good personal friend John Boy's YouTube page the other night. We're going to talk about that. But let's go through a couple quick teams here of what we think the Central is going to look at. Let's start with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Let's just get them out of the way. 61 and 101 a season ago. There is really not much to look forward to still for them. Brian Reynolds has still been in the middle of a really, really good team. He led the team in WAR last year, but aside from that, it's just not really. They're not ready yet, and it's not like there's immediate talent coming up for them. And I'd be shocked if they won more than 65 games next year.
They do have Brian Hayes. I do think he's an all-star at some point in his career, and so, but they got to put it all together. And like you said, I don't know if they've got the group to kind of come together anytime soon. But I think who's the new GM? Ben Cherington. I know he does a good job over there. So hopefully, not hopefully, but I do think at some point they're going to be good again.
Yeah, they need to do it sooner as opposed to later because it's been very, very thin as of late. I mean, so Pirates obviously not going to be in it. Another team is probably not going to be in it is the Cincinnati Reds next year. They're in the middle of a teardown, which is really kind of surprising. And I mean this politely about the Brewers and about the Cardinals. The division is still up for grabs. I mean, yes, the Brewers have a nasty pitching staff, but there are plenty of fair questions about their offense. And it definitely begs the question, who said, I mean, you've got all these head-to-head games. Who says you can't get hot at the right time against the right team? But the Reds feel that they've already traded Tucker Barnhart. Nick Castellanos has opted out. It's clear they are shedding payroll and deciding to rebuild. It's an odd time over there in the Three Rivers.
Yeah, and their pitching staff is thinned out a little bit with Wade Miley gone. Their bullpen struggled. It is a weird time because it seemed like they were on the verge of taking the Central over last year and adding some pieces at the deadline, and they really didn't. And so, yeah, I think the Reds are not going to be good. I'll just say it.
Yeah, it's very odd, and we'll see who they're going to be dealing come trade deadline time. The Cubs are in a weird flux right now. I truly feel once the lockout ends, the Cubs are not done in free agency. Yes, they've signed Wade Miley and Marcus Stroman. I mean, yes, their middle infield's pretty set right now. I mean, it looks like they're going to stick with Nico Horner at short and Nick Madrigal, who they acquired in the Craig Kimbrell trade, at second base. And then you've got Frank Schwindel over Frank the Tank, of course, and then Patrick Wisdom at third base. So their infield's pretty set, but you've got all that money in Jason Hayward and right, and then Ian Happ, albeit he had an incredible August and September, he had an abysmal April through July. So you don't know what you're getting out of Ian. And then left field's kind of wide open since they obviously don't have Schwarber or Bryant anymore, and Baez is gone. I don't think they're done, man. I really don't think they're done.
Yeah, that could be right. And then who's their DH? Maybe Schwindel, who knows? But Schwindel and Wisdom kind of came on the scene last year, and so those are some pieces that are going to probably be productive again. I'm not a believer in Nico Horner, especially at shortstop. I think he's probably a second baseman. So what do you do with Madrigal? Yeah, I mean, they added a couple of nice pieces to their pitching staff. I'm really a big fan of Stroman and Wade Miley. So they still have Hendricks. The depth to their starting pitching is probably going to be what does them in at the end of the day, but we'll see who they sign, like you said.
Yeah, I agree. They are not done yet. Before we talk about the top two favorites in the Central, I want to tell you about BetOnline. Football season is over, of course, but basketball is full steam ahead. As we said yesterday, shout out to Juwan Howard with pro and college hoops. But from all the latest odds, totals, player performance props, and where the next fired coach is going to land, I don't know if Juwan's going to be landing if he is fired. BetOnline.net is the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And not just basketball, of course. They've got hockey, boxing, and UFC odds right there for all your coverage and information. You can head to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and all of the action on BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, those were a few kind of low blows on Juwan Howard. I hope he's learned his lesson. But anyway, talk about the top two teams here in the Central as we get ready to wrap up this Mailbag Monday. The Cardinals, man, they are going to be really good. I hate to sugarcoat it. There is a massive question mark on their starting rotation. But they were the best defensive team in the National League last year, and they could swing it. And you can only figure they're going to get better this year with another full year of Arenado and another full year of Goldschmidt. Tyler O'Neill can DH and play left field now. I really like what I see out of Dylan Carlson. They got the kid Lars Nootbaar, the best name in the National League. I mean, I think this is going to be a really fun race in 2022.
Yeah, I cannot buy into the Cardinals, and maybe that's just me being biased against me hating the Cardinals. And I don't really hate them. I respect them. I respect the heck out of them. Their organization, there's something in the water over there that just, it gets guys to improve and get to their ceiling typically when they're in that organization. And so, yeah, I mean, they certainly have the pieces on the offensive side. What are they going to do with their pitching staff? You know, that's the biggest question mark. If they can figure something out there and have, I just don't see them competing with the Brewers as far as consistency over the entire season because the Brewers pitching staff is going to be that much better. I mean, the Brewers pitching staff was absolutely historic last year. And I know we talked about that until we're blue in the face. The Cardinals just don't have that. So you're going to sustain more extended losing streaks because of that. Even though their offense is going to probably lead the National League in offense because they're really, really good. I mean, names you just named are just solid, not solid. They're all, a bunch of all-stars in their lineup. So we'll see how it all plays out. I'm not a believer in their pitching staff. I do think the Cardinals are going to be very, very good. I just think the Brewers are going to edge them out.
Yeah, it's totally fair. And for the Brewers, I mean, we talk about them all the time, but I'll just give one note on the Brewers. We've talked about it all the time, is that the offense is the question. Christian Yelich is the linchpin of all of this, but you can't just look at Yelich because they made it through last year without Yelich, but then everybody disappeared really in the postseason. So I look, Willie was hurt at the end of last year. He got it back together. He had a decent playoffs. But aside from Rowdy's big swing in game one, there was no pop in those bats. You need to find some pop now as you're losing Avisail Garcia. Trying to find some consistency out of Keston Hiura. The power is going to be the separator for the Brewers from being NL Central winners and NL pennant winners. I think the power is where they need to have the biggest issue and the biggest improvement year over year.
That's fair. No, that's fair. I do see a consistent quality at bat type of team from the Milwaukee Brewers. They did get Hunter Renfroe, so that is a replacement to Avisail Garcia. So, I think once Willie Adames kind of came on board, they were very, very consistent in terms of quality of at bat. Tyrone Taylor should get more playing time. Hopefully Lorenzo Cain will stay healthy because he's going to give you a quality at bat. I think quality at bat is going to be the thing the Brewers are going to hang their hat on offensively until a Christian Yelich or a Keston Hiura comes back to who they are and kind of carries the team. like they're both capable of doing. More Yelich than Hira, but you certainly do want the power. That's a really fair point about their power. So hopefully that does come back.
Yeah. All right. Let's wrap up this Mailbag Tuesday episode with you and Blitzball. We can't obviously reveal what the results are going to be, but you had a big win and a big swing off the other night, man. Tell us about it.
Oh my goodness, that was so for anybody that doesn't know, I went to New York. I took a few days off. I have a day job. I took a few days off my day job and played in this Blitzball tournament with John Boy and Trevor Plouffe was my teammate. It was an absolute blast. So we got into a swing off because no one could score a run. They ended up tweaking the rules where, and I don't think I'm giving anything away. They ended up tweaking the rules where you couldn't throw over 70 miles an hour. So it was a little bit easier to hit. My goodness, it is really, really difficult to hit with the way that ball moves. And we were facing a professional blitzball player, Drew Davis, and his stuff was nasty. So no one could score a run. Trevor Plouffe was our pitcher. No one could score a run, but I ended up hitting a home run and a double to walk it off on a swing off. We were making up rules as we went a little bit, but it was an absolute blast. If you guys have not checked that out yet, go to YouTube and check out the Warehouse games from John Boy. And I went down, like I said, I went to New York, played in blitzball in a warehouse, and acted like a moron on camera for a few days. It was an absolute blast. So check it out.
That's great. We got to get Chris Rose on the pod here at some point then, given he's giving you guys the play-by-play.
Yes, we do. Yeah, Chris Rose. And I mean, it was they had everything. I mean, we had a green screen with player of the game stuff, and it was we had an on-field reporter, Kelsey Wingert, helping out, and it was an absolute blast.
Good for you guys. Can't wait to watch the rest of the tournament. We're rooting for, what is it, Forgotten Rotten? Where does that come from?
You know what? Plouffe made that up. He said that he wanted to, his dream was always to start a band named the Forgotten Rotten. And so he never got a chance to start that band. So our jerseys are sick, though. They're the Brewers home and away jerseys, the powder blue and then the pinstripe ones. So certainly you can buy those online even. So check those out. I'll wear one on the next podcast. If
you were in a band named Forgotten Rotten, what instrument would you be playing?
Me, I would like the triangle, probably.
Electric triangle, though.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, Vinny, thanks for joining us. Thanks to everyone who's listened in here, making us your first listen of the day. Scheduling note, I think you should tell the listeners who our guest is going to be on Thursday.
Thursday's guest, you guys are going to want to tune in to listen to Corey Hart, the one and only Corey Hart, good friend, fan favorite, always when he played. You got to listen to it. He's a tremendous player when he played and obviously a tremendous person, so check it out.
Fantastic. That'll be our next episode and our last episode of the week. So Corey Hart will come on Thursday unless something drastic changes in CBA chat. So he's Vinny. I'm Dom. If you have Pac-12 Network, give us a click. My bosses will be happy. First pitch tonight, ASU in Nevada. So I'll be on the call for that. Can't wait. And we will see you guys on Thursday with Corey Hart. For Vinny, I'm Dom. Keep on swinging.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.